What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back once again to NTRL within Gran Turismo 7, my own personal racing league. Now we're going to hit up the, beginner series of our entire NTRL lineup, which is the Superkarts for round 2 at Willow Springs Raceway on the Horse Thief Mile layout. So if you didn't watch part 1, I fully recommend watching it. It was a great battle between myself and Turbo Boy throughout the entirety of round 1. It's the typical free race, layout to this event. Basically, we will have a qualifying session which will set the grid for race 1. The results from race 1 set the grid for race 2. And then we have a reverse grid for race 3, allowing everyone to get involved and really kind of going along with that beginner friendly format. If you do want to get involved, feel free to head to the website in the description below, as well as my Discord. But first of all, we are going to do a lap in the safety car to take you around this layout of Willow Springs. In my opinion, this is one of the most quirky tracks within GT7, a bit of a ghost town, to be quite honest. When you're actually out here, it's kind of way off from the big Willow layout, the main layout, full of kind of, old rundown shacks, a very kind of little viewing area, a few cars parked up, a very weird pit lane, which is actually where you will be starting from, and overall it just has a ton of personality for a track that takes all of under a minute to complete in a supercar. So yeah, realistically this is an absolutely awesome track, very quirky, a real world track, and definitely one that I massively enjoy. And as you can see from the layout, it is a really awkward track, a lot of uphill, a lot of downhill, constantly adjusting your braking zones, some very tight corners that our safety car here can only barely just get around, and it really does add to the challenge. This is certainly probably the most challenging track on our entire calendar for the supercars, if not out of the entirety of the league, and it's certainly going to be one that is going to provide plenty of fun. So let's get into race 1, and it's going to be the typical starting grid. It's going to be myself and Turbo Boy that are going to take up the front row. Turbo Boy getting the bonus point for pole position there. However, we do have a better result from Dan, who currently sits P3 after a terrible opening round, as all of the karts race through on the run up the hill for the first time before throwing themselves all the way back down. As you can see, very tight, very compact, and yeah, very close racing throughout. Now, one thing to note about this track, if you get it in the desert, you're in for a terrible time, as there's actually not very much room in terms of getting reset. You have to run pretty far off the track before it actually does. Sometimes it may bug out and reset you very early, but most of the time you can pretty much explore the entirety of this track before you actually start getting reset and such. Most of the time you're bringing yourself back on. So Professor Smiles is going to have our first off of the day, basically spinning himself all the way around at turn 1 and having to get himself going. Like I said, quite difficult considering you won't get reset. Next up, we're having a look at the onboard of Jodie, who's making a move on, I believe, Steve there and a bunch of other people as she goes around. I believe that was Nizam trying to get himself back on track. So again, proving her worth in the karting league there, as she did very good as driver of the day from round 1. Steve, he's going to have a pretty terrible first race as he essentially launches himself up high up the hill there, as you can see, and then struggling to get himself going once again. As the sort of camera seems to bug out there. I'm not quite sure why it actually does that. There's quite a lot of weird camera bugs going on at the circuit. So up front, we're going to go a little bit further into the race, almost 2/3 of the way through. Actually, it was a rather quiet first race, to be honest, and it's going to be Turbo Boy leading the way. Plenty of pace. He really did pull away, but we are beginning to reel him in. Just back a bit, we've got Shikata. He's kind of returning to the league, or showing himself to this league for the first time. He just missing out on the first round there. He's battling with Dan. P5 is Jace, a much better result from him, considering his absolutely awful opening round on the test course reverse. P6 is Dave, again a much better round from him, as we see Steve basically taking up all of the boards there, so not quite sure what was going on. P7 for Jodie, again a much better result, and really proving her worth within these karts, with Professor still trying to make up places after his off at turn 1. Then we have Nizam in P9, Tommy Hawk in P10 having a bit of an off there, and then finally and bringing up the back of the field is going to be Steve, as he has a few fair moments throughout this first race. He is going to improve going on later on. Now P6 is Jason. Well, he's going to have, well, a bit of terrible luck, to be quite honest, in the supercarts. This seems to be absolutely haunting him, as he has a big off there, and I believe essentially ends up going back towards the pit lane, and that's going to allow Professor and Jody to make their way through and move up an extra position each. Now, as you can see, we're getting a bit of an onboard towards the ending stages, and whilst we were closing down Turbo, we kind of missed out there by having a bit of an off and causing us to lose a ton of time. So P1 is going to go to Turbo, taking the race win there. P2 to myself. Then we've got Shikata, who is going to be taking P3, a fairly solid result for him, just in front of Dan, who is having a much better time at Willow Springs than he did at the test course. So yeah, well done to both of them. Rounding out the top 5 is going to be Professor Smiles, a great recovery drive from him, really making up the positions. P6 to Jody, a much better result for her, and again continues her, I guess, very good form within the supercarts. P7 is Dave, a better result overall than what he had in the first round. Again, seemed to be struggling there. Jace, P8, a pretty poor round from him in the end. P9 is going to go to Nizam, and not a great result for him, certainly dropping down the order compared to round 1, with P10 going to Tommy Hawk, a bit of a poor round for him, and yeah, really trying to, you know, adjust himself to this awkward Willow Springs layout. And then finally at the last place is going to go to Steve. So that is your order, or finishing order should I say, for race 1. In terms of overall fastest lap, it went to myself with a 52.722 as we began to chase down Turbo Boy in the ending stages. It just wasn't quite enough when we had that little off there. Race 2 now, and this is going to be obviously based on the results from race 1. So Turbo Boy is going to lead us away from pole once again. Myself in P2, Shikata P3, down at P4, and so on and so forth, as all the carts go flying through up to the first proper turn of the track. That's going to send them, well, send everybody all the way downhill, as Turbo gets it a little bit wide there. I believe a little bit of contact between myself and him. Dan then closes up on Turbo Boy. He's going to try and get that position, as Jody also believes that she can get a move done there. Drops back a little bit, but she's already up in P5, so a good result for her, and a very, very good start for her. So Shikata leads the way after myself essentially dropped back a little bit in these early stages. So Shikata taking P1 currently, so a very, very good start from him. Myself P2, down up to P3 now in front of Turbo Boy, but it's not going to last too long. As you can see, Turbo Boy is already starting to make his way through the grid on lap 4 as he overtakes myself and has a little bit of a battle. But up front, Dan is really trying to put the pressure on Shikata, and it does seem to work, as Shikata gets it in the desert and then ends up burning up the tyres of the car, and that's going to allow Dan through, and Shikata is going to fall into the clutches of Turbo Boy, who is pushing very, very hard currently in P3. So Dan's still looking for the first NTRL win, as Shikata goes off there. I don't know if that was a bit of contact with Turbo Boy, or if he just went a little bit wide. Once you get it in the desert, it's pretty much game over. So Turbo Boy and myself now beginning to chase down Dan, who has plenty of pace. It's just not quite quick enough, as Turbo Boy sets the fastest lap there and clonks it on 2 wheels, as we manage to get it down the inside there and take P2, at least for a little while. So yeah, definitely a lot of battling going on up front, so plenty of action, kind of, you know, getting towards a third of the way into the event. So we're going to try and make a move on Dan here as the battle continues on lap 6. We're going to try and get it down the inside, and well, yeah, it's going to be a move done at least for a little while before we take a little bit of a push, and you get sent all the way around the shack there, obviously trying to basically stop the game from resetting us a long way back. We do manage to get it back on the tarmac, but it has cost us 3 positions there. So down to P4, and it's not going to get any better from there, as we have another off. I don't know really what happened there. We just end up going basically straight on, and that is going to cause us to lose a ton more positions. We saw Professor going through there, Jody going through, TCR, Nissam going through as we spin our way back on track, and Steve as well. So down in P8 P8 after the first of what seemed like many big offs for this event. Essentially round 2 for me begins falling apart at this point, so well done to those guys for getting through. Turbo Boy, he's then going to have a bit of an office there. He basically gets reset there all the way back, and that's what I mean. If you're not careful, and sometimes the game wants to kind of, you know, screw you over, it will. As you can see, dropped him all the way to P5 from P1 as Jody goes through, and Steve looking to battle there as they both race in the identical cart. So Shikata now inherits a lead by an absolute margin, around 2/3 of the way through the event. So yeah, he's pretty much got this one in the bag. He's just got to keep it nice and comfortable. Dan in a very, very good P2. The P3 is Professor, a great result for him, and continues his consistent form throughout this league. He was very, very consistent in round 1. It's looking like it's coming back to him in round 2. P4 Jody, again another consistent racer who just seems to be getting very, very good positionings in the supercar. So she sits P4, should I say, just behind myself. Sorry, just in front of myself and Turbo Boy, who's going to begin his charge up the field as myself and Jody battle away. P7 is Stee, a much better result than round 1, where he spent most of the time just sitting in the desert letting everyone through, as Nizam there looking to make a move on Jace. Those two for P8 and P9 respectively, and P10 is DWG, who's having a bit of a quiet race for this one, and P11, as you can see, is about to get lapped, is Tony. Again, not a great round for him, but I'm pretty sure he'll come back fighting. Bit of an onboard from me, and this is what I mean by the entire round just got worse as we have yet another off and end up kind of going in the desert before clunking ourselves back on track and basically spinning ourselves around. Not really what we kind of want, as we dropped all the way down to P9 at that point. So the race win is going to go to Shikata. Well done to him. Overall, a great result and a very dominant win if we look back a little bit, as Dan takes P2. That win still getting away from him, but I'm sure he will get one very, very soon, to be quite honest. P3 to Professor Smiles, P4 to Turbo Boy. Good recovery drive from him after that awful reset earlier on. P5 is going to go to Jody, a great result for her and some solid points on the board. Same to Stee, a good result overall and much better than race 1. P7 for me, P8 for Jace, and P9 goes to Nizam. Not the result those guys at the back really probably want. And as you can see, P10 it goes to Dave, just a little bit behind Shikata, and P11 goes to Tommy Hawk after a very, very rough round. In terms of fastest lap, this one went to Turbo Boy as a 52.793, so getting himself into the 52s there and taking the bonus point for fastest lap, just like myself in the race previously. And that is going to round us up to our final meeting, or final race of the meeting should I say, which is the reverse grid. So Tony takes us away from pole, Dave P2, P3 is Nizam, followed by the likes of Jace, myself and such. So again, the whole grid is just going to absolutely pile through into that right hander. That's going to take us back downhill. As you can see, everybody absolutely flying through. And well, yeah, it's going to be a rough race for me, I know that at least, and it's going to be a rough race for a few other people, as people already going wide. Everybody trying to pile into one corner at once, it's never going to work. So Nizam, he's already trying to put the pressure on Tony there early on, as myself in P3, who's going to manage to just get it up the inside after everybody seemed to go really, really slow there. And that's going to bring us into P1 as we look at the rest of the field. Some big names in terms of the Superkarts League sitting back a little bit and just kind of waiting to see what happens there as we have a look at DWG, and Tony takes a spin there. So looking at the end of lap 1, and Jodie's going to make up a ton of positions, as if she's not overtaking anyone either, basically going up a ton of positions as everybody just seemed to absolutely fly off. And we do have some great onboard footage from Shikata for this one, as you can really see it all unfolding. He essentially drives himself through the middle, so up to P6 in a single corner, looking like she'd overtaken nobody. So this is what actually happened on board Shikata. As you can see, people flying left, right and centre in these carts, and that puts him up to P2. So yeah, plenty of carnage there at the first corner. You see everybody in the background just off and everywhere. So we're going to go on board Shikata once again a little bit later on lap 6, as he takes a spin and a trip to the desert, and that's going to begin to drop him down a few more positions. So a massive shame for him, as he also gets reset as a extra kick in the teeth there. So going a little bit later on to the race, so we're on lap 10 here, and this is where my race is just going to unfold. It was quite good up until, you know, lap 11, around about 9 minutes in, and yeah, we're going to have a big off there, slapping the barrier, and that's going to drop us down to P3, and it's only going to get worse from there as we kind of get the dirty tyres, start overcooking them, and then dip ourselves in the desert and end up dropping down to P5 as Jody goes through there, as well as Shikata. And yeah, just not really the result we kind of want. So Turbo Boy, he continues to lead the way as we are around about 10 minutes into the event, nearly 11 minutes. Dan in P2, a great solid result for him, much better than round 1. P3, Shikata again being very, very consistent as Jody continues to defend from myself, who got it a little bit sideways there. P5 for myself, P6 for Professor, P7 for Nizam, P8 for Stee as they begin to battle away in these dying stages of the race. DWG sits P9, again another quiet race for him, not seen much of him this weekend. JC's having another rough time in P10, and then we can see Tommy Hawk there in P11 in the final place. Going on board myself, and we're going to try and make a move here on Jody, and well, it's just not going to go too well. As you're going to see, we're basically just going to clatter the inside of the desert, get caught, and well, that's it. Good night to us, and we are going to begin to drop down more places as we get into these dying stages. P6 for us at the present moment, so really not what we want, and it's going to get worse from there. On lap 14 we're going to clatter it and spin it and drop all the way to P8 as we do a nice little smoke show to get ourselves back underway. So yeah, pretty terrible round for me, but fun nonetheless. And then we have a look at Professor Smiles and Jody, who are going to have a pretty good battle. They've been battling for a fair few laps already. Once she kind of got away from me and Professor got through, it was all about defending for her as she tries to get her best ever result in NTRL of all time. So although she's not got a podium just yet, she has got on the podium in class races before, but not overall. I'm pretty sure she's going to get one anytime soon with how she drives these supercarts. So plenty of battling between these two. As you can see, Professor's then going to try and get it up the inside, but overcook it and spin it as they go on to lap 15. And that pretty much assures Jody is going to take P4 and her best result. Professor dropping all the way to P7. Race win here for Turbo Boy once again as he continues his absolutely great quality form in the supercar. So well done to him. P2 to Dan, great result for him. P3 and the final podium spot going to Shikata. Again, another class result for him. And P4, her best ever result in NTRL, goes to Jody. A great result for her. That's going to boost her right up the table, I'm pretty sure of it. P5 is just going to go to Nizam there as he holds off Stee. And then just behind him is Professor Smiles after his spin on lap 15. P8 for myself, just not managing to recover in the end. P9 is going to go to Jace. Again, a great result for him in terms of, you know, absolutely making a bit of a show of it in terms of crashing the cars. That's all that I'm going to say about that. You know, we have a bit of a laugh about it. P10 I believe to DWG, and P11 to Tommy Hawk, who does it in style. So yeah, not a great round for a lot of people there, but I'm sure they'll come back fighting there. Fastest lap goes to Turbo Boy, 52.584. So taking the bonus point for that one. So once again, well done to him. Great form. As you can see, the man in front of him, Jace, just not on the best of form currently in the supercarts, but I'm sure he'll get there. Driver of the day goes to Jody Tate once again. Second race in a row, actually, really proving her worth in these carts, and I think surprising everybody, to be honest, at this point. So once again, well done to her, picked by the rest of the grid as once again our supercarts driver of the day. So that's 2 out of 2 for her. So let's have a look at the overall standings after round 2 at Willow Springs Horse Thief Mile, and it's going to be Turbo Boy who takes a massive lead after my absolutely terrible round. So 146 points for him. P2 myself 120. Professor Smiles consistent 111 for him in P3. Jody sits in P4 overall on 95 points. P5 Tall, he's going to have 90 points, so just 5 points back from Jody. 88 points for Dan, a much better result for him this time, taking 2 podiums there. I'm sure he's going to be pretty grateful about that one. Jace, although not, you know, great rounds overall, he does sit in at P7 on 72 points. Shikata 67, taking a race win and 3 podiums from that single round. P9, Timo missing this round. He takes 2 podiums and 63 points. DWG 56 points. P11, Tony 54, and finally Stee quite a way off on 39 points. I believe he did miss the first round though, but I'm pretty sure he'll continue to move up those standings and get more consistent as time goes on. So that's going to be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching round 2 of our Superkarts League. If you do want to get involved, like I said, go to the website in the description head over to the Discord for your updates. And yeah, honestly, we're open to any skill level. It's just to kind of give back to you guys and get you guys involved and able to do a bit of fun racing online on some set days. So hopefully I see some fresh faces on the grid soon. So that's it from me. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. Take care, guys. Peace. We crank the volume, we doing something now, we make it louder, we back it now.